The Happy World of FM Radio, your adult contemporary radio station in Zambia, connecting you to the newsmakers, events that make news in the global village.
Good evening. This is the 5FM Radio Main News. The headlines. Government invests over 100 million United States dollars in revamping Mulungushi textiles. Tonse Alliance questions President Hichilema's criteria for attending traditional ceremonies. Israeli settlement plans will bury idea of Palestinian state, minister says. Book 5FM Radio Zambia and our YouTube channel 5. The details. My name is Lance Sannie. Commerce, Trade and Industry Minister Chipokamlenga has decided the government has invested more than 100 million United States dollars in re-equipping Mulungushi textiles. Speaking at a media stakeholder engagement this morning, Mr. Mlenga says all old equipment at the plant has been removed, dismissing assertions that the revival of Mulungushi textiles is linked to the 2026 general elections, stressing that the project is aimed at long-term industrial growth. The minister also highlights the government's initiative to introduce intensive learning about Zambia's mineral resources in schools. He says this will be undertaken in collaboration with Jewel of Africa and the Ministry of our children are exposed to knowledge about mineral resources from an early stage.
Bring them together and start teaching our generation on how to do this. And we are transforming our curriculum. That's why she was with the Minister of Education to impart knowledge. There's a mistake that we've always had in our country. We study grasshoppers, legs, and what, while others are talking about copper, minerals, wealth, and this is what this president is doing. Can we teach value of our minerals to our children at a young age? And where missions to teach our children, we want you the practical people, and that's why we've got the Jewel of Africa to be a part of it. The time we release them, they are there to do it. You are talking about...
At the same event, Jewel of Africa Chief Executive Officer Rashmi Sharma has said Zambia needs critical training in gemstone cutting, noting that such processes can be done locally as her company already does.
Their cutting standards are nowhere near what we have cut in Windola. And by the way, I do hire some of the people who come out of the lipidery, and I have to read. So when we have the likes of Tiffany's, David Winston, the big name brands in the USA come to our booth and say, where are you cutting these? This can't be cut in Africa. I show them proof, videos. This is cut in my office under Jewel of Africa's roof. It can be done. It just needs a little bit more extra training on critical angles, some science behind it, and we can do it perfectly. There is talking about teaching.
Meanwhile, Women in Mining President Namakau Kaingu calls for the reduction of high customs duties on imported mining equipment, saying the current costs are a major hindrance to the growth of the sector.
They are all import oriented, and customs also is high. So then number three, because of the consumables that are very high, a lot of people who are in value addition, they are not able to buy a lot of the powders, especially the one for shining. So because we also export that as value added, when you take it, especially the markets in America or in Europe.
The Lusaka City Council LCC, in collaboration with the Zambia Police Service, has demolished more than 100 illegal makeshift structures erected by traders operating under high-voltage Sesco power lines along Ring Road and surrounding areas. LCC Public Relations Manager Chola Mwamba says that the action followed multiple warnings and notice issued by the Council's Department of Planning, advising owners to remove these structures voluntarily and relocate to designated trading areas. Ms. Mwamba states that despite repeated warnings, the traders ignored the notices, leaving the council with no option but to enforce the law. She adds that the demolition was a reminder to residents to comply with council regulations and cooperate with authorities to maintain law and order in the city. Ms. Mwamba has stressed that the local council remains committed to upholding cleanliness, order, and public safety in Lusaka and will not hesitate to act against illegal and unplanned structures that pose risk to the public. She further urged members of the public to comply with council regulations to avoid enforcement actions, warning that failure to do so could lead to demolition of illegal structures.
Demolished over 100 illegal makeshift structures of traders operating under the high voltage ZESCO power lines along Ring Road and nearby roads. This action was taken after the Council's Department of City Planning issued multiple warnings and notices to the structure owners, urging them to remove the structures voluntarily and relocate to designated areas. However, the warnings were ignored, prompting the council to take enforcement action. The demolition serves as a reminder to the public to adhere to council's regulations and authority to maintaining law and order in the city. The council's action demonstrates its dedication to maintaining a safe and orderly city.
The Tonse Alliance has urged President Hakainde Hichilema to clarify the criteria he uses when deciding which traditional ceremonies to attend across the country. In a statement, Patriots for Economic Progress (PEP) President and Tonse Alliance spokesperson Sean Tembo expressed concern over what he described as a worrying pattern in the president's attendance record. Mr. Tembo claims that in recent times, President Hichilema has shown a strong preference for attending traditional ceremonies in his political strongholds, particularly in the western, southern, and northwestern provinces, while seemingly avoiding major ceremonies in the northern and eastern parts of Zambia. He notes that the head of state recently failed to attend both the Omutomboko traditional ceremony of the Lundaushi people in Luapula province and the Uksefyapangwena traditional ceremony of the Bemba-speaking people in northern province, despite their cultural significance and large attendance. Mr. Tembo has said that during the same period, the alliance has observed that the president attended every traditional ceremony in his political strongholds of southern province, some of which were relatively unknown to the public until now. He adds that the alliance is therefore requesting the president to explain to the nation the criteria he uses to decide which traditional ceremonies to grace with his presence and which to forego.
Would like to request President Hakainde Hichilema to tell the nation the criteria that he uses to attend certain traditional ceremonies and not others. This concern arises from a worrying pattern in the recent past, whereby the president appears to have a very high appetite to attend traditional ceremonies in his strongholds of western, southern, and northwestern provinces, while showing no appetite to attend traditional ceremonies in the northern and eastern parts of Zambia.
School administrators from across Zambia have described the innovations showcased at the 2025 National Junior Engineers, Technicians, and Scientists Church and Tertiary Engineers, Technicians, and Scientists TEDS exhibition as transformative ideas with the potential to reshape the nation's future. Head teachers attending the event have emphasized that the projects on display demonstrate Zambia's capacity to solve complex challenges using locally available resources. Mr. Frederick Chibiye, representing the Head Teachers Association of Zambia, has expressed admiration for the creativity exhibited by students. Mr. Robert Kulofwa, a head teacher from Chitambo district, has highlighted the practical teaching methodologies demonstrated at the National Science Center, urging that such approaches be adopted nationwide. Professor Benson Banda, director of the National Science Center under the Ministry of Education, has explained that this year's event was designed to give school administrators first-hand exposure to innovations from across the country and to showcase the center's efforts in advancing STEM education. Held under the theme Promoting Innovation, Engineering, and Entrepreneurship, Accelerating STEM Growth and Competence Development. This year's event marks the first time JADES and TEDs have been held together, creating a powerful platform for showcasing Zambia's brightest minds. And in other news trending this evening, the United Party for National Development media team official Cosmas Chilishe has described as unbiblical any plans for the remains of the late 60th Republican President Edgar Chagwa Lungu not to be buried in Zambia. The Worldwide Fund for Nature WWF Zambia has identified water scarcity as one of the country's most urgent climate-related challenges. Up next, the business news.
5FM Radio Business News. We mean business. Keep you current in commerce, trade, and industry, local and global. It's our business to keep you informed about business.
The Zambia Export Development Fund, ZF, has expressed concern that despite mobilizing 25 million United States dollars, there has been no significant drawdown of the funds. Speaking at the high-level breakfast meeting on growth and development of non-traditional exports in Zambia, ZF Fund Manager Dr. David Chewe said that in November last year, the institution secured an additional 25 million United States dollars for the facility. Dr. Chewe has explained that the fund had previously focused mainly on providing working capital with a maximum financing limit of 200,000 United States dollars per borrower. However, he noted that this approach was restrictive and excluded several entrepreneurs, including some the fund was already working with, thereby limiting their capacity to service markets and boost their contribution to exports. He has revealed that so far, only 1.1 million United States dollars has been accessed by 18 borrowers, of whom just 4 are engaged in export activities.
If we limit the capacity to actually service markets and increase their contribution. So when we brought in this $25 million, it was also informed by our research, which showed that a number of entrepreneurs want to increase capacity, but there are institutions that usually have money but cannot lend to them because of the criteria and other limitations. So what we have done then is we signed up that $25 million and we've been trying to now make it work. The $25 million covers both working capital and capital expenditure. In other words, entrepreneurs now can use the money that we provide to also use for building factories, for upgrading their facilities by.
Ends the business news, and in news from across our borders, Israeli far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich has said plans to build more than 3,000 homes in a controversial settlement project in the occupied West Bank will bury the idea of a Palestinian state. The so-called E1 project between Jerusalem and the Mao Adumim settlement has been frozen for decades amid fierce opposition intentionally. Building there would effectively cut off the West Bank from occupied East Jerusalem and significantly obstruct its territorial continuity. Smotrich said it would thwart the idea of a Palestinian state because there is nothing to recognize and no one to recognize. Settlements are considered illegal under international law, though Israel disputes this. And in sports news today, the national judo team comprising athletes, coaches, and members of the Association Medical Commission had a planning meeting ahead of busy competitive tournaments. The meeting focused on preparations for some major upcoming events like the African Youth Games scheduled for 10 to 20 December 2025 in Luanda, Angola, the 2026 Glasgow Commonwealth Games to be held from 23 July to 2nd August 2026 in Glasgow, Scotland, and the Dakar Youth Olympics slated for 30 October to 13 November 2026 in Senegal. During the session, the team discussed training schedules, competition strategies, and athlete readiness. They also toured the training venues, ensuring that all facilities and resources are in place for the intensive training program that officially begins on Monday, 18 August 2025. The evening weather report is that the eastern, Mchinga, northern, Luapula, and Lusaka provinces, including the eastern parts of Central Province, mainly clear, windy at times, and mild. Southern, western, northern, and Copperbelt provinces, including the western parts of Central Province, have clear skies, windy at times, and mild. Ends our weather report, and that item brings us to the end of the news part. Before we go, a recap of the stories that made headlines. Commerce, Trade and Industry Minister Chipoka Mlenga has disclosed that the government has invested more than 100 million United States dollars in re-equipping Mulungushi textiles. The Tonse Alliance has urged President Hakainde Hichilema to clarify the criteria he uses when deciding which traditional ceremonies to attend across the country. And finally, Israeli far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich has said plans to build more than 3,000 homes in a controversial settlement project in the occupied West Bank will bury the idea of a Palestinian state. For more news, follow us on Facebook, 5FM Radio Zambia, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, 5FM Radio Zambia. On behalf of the entire news crew and the technical department, thank you for listening to the happy world of 5FM. Stay safe and stay tuned to 5FM Radio. My name is Lance Sannie. Enjoy the rest of the evening.